Ever been told God told me to quit my job, marry a stranger, or start a war? Yeah, me neither. But for some folks, divine text messages are legit life advice. Welcome to the wild world of Christians yelling, "God told me," where the Bible is optional, feelings are scripture, and common sense, sudden explosion. We're unpacking why this phrase is the intellectual equivalent of a TikTok dance trend. Flashy, fake news, and dangerous as hell. Welcome to Secular Strike Back. I'm Toothless Grin Kim. When a Christian says, "God told me to do X," they're not just expressing a belief. They're claiming literal divine communication. A direct hotline from the universe's hypothetical rent a creator. And let's be clear, this is not the God of the Bible who, for example, spends 90% of the Old Testament basically yelling, "Do not murder," but also, "Go ahead and kill all those Canaanites." No, this is the God of strong feelings, of closed doors and open windows, and of people mistaking their anxiety for a divine love letter. Picture this. A Christian wakes up one day, feels a nudge in their soul, and concludes God wants them to become a missionary in Siberia. Cool. But here's the problem. That same Bible that they claim to follow says, "Do not try to interpret dreams by the way you feel in your gut." Like, does the Bible really say that? Nope. But their gut sure says so, and suddenly their life plan is not a career in finance, but a 30-year tour of duty and a snow globe. The first issue? This is a false prophecy in the most basic sense. The moment you start using personal feelings as a substitute for evidence, you're in a self-deception loop. Imagine if scientists said, "Well, I just felt gravity doesn't exist today, so this experiment is invalid."
What?
Yet Christians casually throw around, "God told me," like it's a Netflix recommendation, and where's the evidence? Right. There isn't any. Just heartfelt conviction and a strong personal anecdote about a sunset that reminded them of Jesus. This isn't just lazy thinking. It's dangerous. If you can divine truth from feelings alone, then every jerk with a tingle can justify anything. Racism, violence, or the belief that the moon is made of cheese, and Jesus personally told them so. And let's not forget the impact on non-believers. When Christians shout, "God told me," they're not just sharing a story. They're saying, "My feelings trump your rights." That's a worldview built on us versus them. A recipe for genocide, discrimination, and awkward small group meetings, where someone's vision from God is a recipe for zucchini bread. Here's the kicker. Christians who claim God told me often ignore the very book they say defines their faith. The Bible is a 66-volume hot mess of sexism, genocide, and contradictory advice. For example, Jesus says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." But Paul says, "Purge the wicked from among you." The Old Testament God liked slavery. The New Testament Jesus says, "Love your enemies." One book says women should be silent in church. Another says women are apostles. Yet when a Christian says, "God told me," to condemn LGBTQ plus people, they're not going to mention the verses where Jesus critiques Pharisees for their hypocrisy or says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." They cherry pick the parts that let them feel good, then act like their feelings are the new Canaan. And the moment someone points out the contradictions, they'll say, well, the real meaning is hidden. You have to read between the lines, which is just code for, I'm making this up as I go. This creates biblical anarchy, where no one can agree on what God actually wants. Some say he wants us to dress like Victorian peasants. Others say he wants us to drop everything and start a cult in the desert. And when Christians can't even agree among themselves, you get denominations at war over communion bread, Eucharist versus just bread, for instance, and a billion-dollar industry of end-time prophecy books that are basically religious fan fiction. But here's the worst part. When these God told me Christians go into the world, they don't just cause confusion, they cause harm. Take the MAGA Christian nationalists currently trying to gut reproductive rights, ban drag shows, and rewrite history to make Confederates look like moral heroes. These people aren't just believing in God, they're using the hallucinations as scripture approach to justify theocratic authoritarianism under the guise of Christianity. And they're doing it all with a Bible in one hand and a megaphone of lies in the other. You know what's more disturbing than a person claiming they hear from God? When they use that claim to shut down conversation. If you question a Christian's God told me moment, they'll often get defensive, say you're closed-minded, or just walk off like you've just insulted their pet lizard. And let's be specific. This is gaslighting, plain and simple. Gaslighting is when someone denies reality to protect their own worldview. Christians who say, God told me, do this by acting as if their private revelation is absolute truth, then ignoring all evidence to the contrary. Ever met someone who says, I just feel like trans people are wrong, and my church leader told me God said it? That's not a debate. It's a declaration of war on logic. And let's talk about the impact on non-believers. Imagine being in a conversation with someone who says, the reason I can deny you health care is because God told me to. What do? You can't disprove their feelings. You can't argue with a subjective experience. All you can do is watch as a person who claims to follow a loving God builds a worldview of hate and then tells you to just pray about it. This is especially horrifyingly obvious in situations where God told me leads to violence. In the 19th century, Brigham Young said, God told me to massacre the Mountain Meadows. And his church members did it. In the 20th century, Jim Jones said, God told me the only way to paradise was in a Jonestown Kool-Aid bar. And 900 people died. And today, Christians in the U.S. say, God told me to defund abortion providers. And suddenly, people die by back alley procedures because the state is playing divine therapist for a God who never spoke to them. So what can we atheists, skeptics, and ex-Christians do when confronted with the God told me? Here's a handy critical thinking toolkit. Ask for evidence. How do you know it wasn't just your anxiety or your trauma talking? Can other people verify this message? Compare to the Bible. If God told you to do X, why didn't he put it in the Bible? Or did he have a typo? Call it what it is. That's not a divine communication, it's a cognitive bias. The same one that makes people think the moon is following them. Use the Satan said so test. Could this message actually be from the devil, not God? And if they get mad at you, great. That just proves they're not open to evidence. which is the point. You're not trying to convert them. You're exposing the lack of critical thinking in their claims. Let's not forget, the biggest casualty here is the believer themselves. When you start building your life around a feeling you call God, you're setting yourself up for a massive crash when reality contradicts your imaginary divine plan. Ever meet someone who said God told them to become a missionary, then became a barista because that's the only job they could get? Or someone who told God they'd pray for a spouse and ended up dating a guy named Greg who smells like kerosene and wears a fanny pack. These are the dangers of saying God told me. It's a recipe for chronic disappointment and spiritual Stockholm syndrome. You're not just lying to others, you're lying to yourself, creating a version of God that fits your needs instead of adapting to reality. And when God doesn't deliver, what happens? You get cognitive dissonance, which is when your brain short circuits trying to resolve the conflict between, I believe God told me this job was a sign, and my coworker thinks I'm a fraud. And let's not forget the groupthink. Christians who say God told me often end up forming cult-like communities where questioning the divine message is hearsay. Ever seen a megachurch preach that God told the pastor to buy a $30 million private jet? That's not following Jesus. That's just a bank account with a Jesus logo on it. The God told me problem isn't just about Christians being weird. It's about theocracy creeping into secular spaces, whether it's laws banning drag queens or school boards teaching Genesis as history. When Christians act like their personal feelings are divine law, they're eroding democratic values. Because in a democracy, we govern by evidence and debate. In a theocracy, we govern by lies and fear. This is why atheists and skeptics need to speak up to protect truth itself. If we let people say, God told me, and act on it without consequence, we're just one step away from a world where the president is chosen by lottery and everyone's feeling guided by the Spirit. Let me end with this. If God really communicated with humans, wouldn't he do it in a way that was clear? Instead of leaving clues in ancient text scrolls and anxiety dreams, he could just pop into our heads and say, Hey you, the entire Bible? Ignore that. Here's what I actually want you to do. But no, apparently, divine communication is a game of whack-a-mole and guesswork. And for the Christians saying, well, toothless, what proves your atheism is right? I say, you prove your claims. If you want to be taken seriously, accept the burden of evidence, just like we do when we say gravity exists. So what's your take, fellow skeptics? Have you ever dealt with someone who had a God told me moment? Was it a career change? A creepy pickup line? Or just a complete disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you live in the United States and you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a $3 monthly donation by going to my Patreon and becoming a member. The link is in the description below. Also, I now have a newsletter. The link is also in the description below. Once I get enough people signing up to it, then I'll start sending out the newsletters. But remember, when someone tells you God told me, the best response is a raised eyebrow and a Google search. Subscribe, like, and let's keep the secular strike back strong. And on a final note, my eyes. I had cataract surgery on the right eye this past Monday, close to a week ago. And I'm not having to wear a eye patch for my viewers, as the eye actually looks like it hasn't been operated on. So no eye patch for you guys, but I am wearing sunglasses indoors today. I needed plenty of light to do this video, and that makes it too bright for me right now. I'm kind of sensitive. So the eye is still healing, but it looks like it hasn't even been touched. So that's good. And you'll be seeing a difference right now. If I put my glasses on, if I'm mainly using this eye, and I put my glasses on, the strength of the lens in the glasses is now too strong. Can't see much of anything through there. The left eye still needs operated on yet. So if I'm reading with that, then I have to put my glasses on and look up close and to be able to read with that. If I'm I'll have surgery on the left eye on the 26th. After that, you won't be seeing me in glasses at all while that heals, and then I can finally get some sort of prescription in glasses. The main deal is, for me, they put a prescription in the artificial lenses they put in your eyes. So the glasses, the actual prescription for nearsightedness would be very weak. But I've got a problem with astigmatism. My eyes are in the shape of footballs, and that distorts my vision. And so if I didn't want to pay out of pocket to put that specialized lens in the eye to fix the astigmatism, it cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars per eye to do that. Out of pocket. The insurance companies do not pay that. Then I would have to have glasses with some kind of specialized lenses to get that, to fix that astigmatism. So that would be mainly what the glasses are for, and for reading up close and that. So that's how my eyes are doing. Anyway, just to let you know how that is. So wearing the sunglasses today, I took my glasses off and put some sunglasses on. It's too bright in here for me right now, but I had to have it bright to record this video for you. So, okay, that's that. And so, wish me luck on the other eye as well. This eye will still be healing a little bit at the same time they operate at this eye. So, for a while, you'll see me without the glasses when they do this. So, okay, so they'll operate on me again in about a week. So the eye is still kind of blurry yet because of that astigmatism, and it's still healing. But mostly it's much clearer and brighter than it used to be with that cataract in there. So I have hope that by spring, they should have me fixed up and seeing pretty well, and then get me that new prescription, and hopefully I'll do good from there. Thanks for watching, and bye.